Welcome to the DesignRush Podcast. I'm your host, Bianca Mayer. In 2024, gaming continues to grow, heavily driven by user-generated content, or UGC, that increases player engagement and profits. Platforms like Roblox, where creators earn millions, highlight the ongoing surge in UGC popularity.
The more the game developer allows their games to be modded or to have UGC elements around the game, the more they are increasing the ability to retain users and to increase monetization around existing users.
UGC not only increases player loyalty, but also creates new revenue opportunities. Deloitte notes that platforms supporting UGC are experiencing greater engagement and financial success, revolutionizing game content production and consumption.
Advertising and games, in particular AAA games, do not go together. A player that is buying a $60, $70 today premium game like Baldur's Gate 3 is not interested in having advertisement in the game.
Players dislike in-game ads as they disrupt the gaming experience. Our guest, Shahar Sorek from Overwolf, notes that gamers expect uninterrupted, immersive experiences when they pay for high-quality games.
They're not against brands in general, they just don't like the game interrupted. So there's this thing. On the other side, the advertising world is going under a massive shift. And there is a migration of ad dollars from traditional media, magazines, TV, music platforms, into games and social networks. And right now, in PC gaming and console gaming, there is no major advertiser or service that captures or is going to capture hundreds of billions of dollars that would want to get there. We're going to have an increase in demand of brands to get into the game, so to speak, because that's where all the audience is going to be.
We're exploring how user-generated content is transforming game monetization and the shift to digital advertising in gaming. With 97% of gamers recognizing its benefits, it's a topic that needs to be explored. Let's get into it. Had a very warm welcome to the DesignRush Podcast again. We are so thrilled to have you here with us today.
Pleasure being here, Bianca.
Amazing. Okay, now Shahar, I know that the annual incomes for gamers, can range anywhere from like $12,000 to close to $200,000. I think that was annually, actually. But this is obviously not including like potential earnings from sponsorships and bonuses and stuff like that. So I also know that the highest earners in this field have made over $1 million as well. So Shahar, I'd love to dive into what really makes a game not just fun, but obviously highly profitable. So from your observation, what type of games have you really seen that show promise for creators really looking to monetize their content in 2024?
Oh, that's a great question. Let's focus on the creator economy in games, correct? So I think that generally speaking, any type of game that gains any type of live service, live action, multiplayer game that takes off gains a lot of momentum from its gamer creator community. So how does creation start in general in games? It starts from an avid gamer that loves the game, but also has the abilities and some experience in creating in and around games. It could be anything. It could be anything from nails and hairdos in The Sims, which their content creators do, to full-on maps in Minecraft and private servers in Grand Theft Auto 5. I mean, the range of creation is so large, and it's just getting larger and easier to create, that we're really looking at a trend that is just getting stronger as a trend. So when you look at 2024, you need to look at it within the context of the gaming arena at large, and you would see there's a consistent growth, in particular in the last couple of years, in creations around games. So if a game like Pal Worlds comes out, there is an immediate there's an immediate body of creators that plays the game and comes to create. So they come to Overwolf or they come to other modding websites to create things around the game and to mod the game and to play the game, because what we're really going through is first and foremost a consumer habitual change. There's a change in the consumer's need, in gamers' need. Gamers now require way more content around games, and they really love to experience different things. It starts from just trying out different avatars and skins in games like Fortnite, but it continues to basically anything. And the more the game developer allows their games to be modded or to have UGC elements around the game, the more they are increasing the ability to retain users and to increase monetization around existing users. So in 2024, there currently have been two Power Worlds came out, a massive success. A lot of modded content around that. Also, Lethal Company, which launched at the end of Q4 in 23. A lot of modded content around that, and I'm sure we'll see new titles coming out. On top of existing titles, we have Minecraft, which is probably the most modded game in the world. Of course, Roblox and Fortnite. Epic making a huge investment in increasing creations around the game, understanding that's a key. But we also have games like Arc, which we're working with in enabling modding from within the game menu. Like modding becomes an innate experience to the game experience. So you can go to the mod menu and download mods, and also now buy mods. Which is a new thing that we're enabling with Arc Survival Ascended. So we're really seeing a new trend, which the game developers are starting to enable their own games to lend themselves to UGC, plus a demand from the market for UGC. So I think we're in a year of growth for the creator economy, and also transition to new monetization models. So you have Roblox and you have Epic and you have us allowing games like Arc to monetize, and you have Minecraft and GTA 5. So all of that is just one big, there's so many. If you take those games alone, you're going to get to a massive reach in terms of users and monthly active users. I think the trend is to increase UGC across the arena at large, and we're going to see more and more games come out and enable that.
Okay. Well, I have to say, I'm not a professional gamer or anything, but I do play some, and I think the game that I have probably modded the most in my life is Skyrim. Probably as everybody else that plays Skyrim, for sure. I think that game definitely needed the mods for sure, and it still does. Yeah, that's a whole other can of beans, though, because I could go on and on about Skyrim and the modding community. But Shahar, just to move on a little bit, with the rise of UGC, are gaming companies more actively, scouting these types of creators within the community because of everything you just mentioned?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I think that gaming companies are going through a mindset shift. It already happened, where they understand the huge benefits of enabling a creator economy, but you need to remember that creating around games, in particular the AAA ones, is really going against their core way of doing business as the gaming industry evolved throughout the years. So game studios at large were against content creation. They wanted to wall off their investments and their games from creators, and rightfully so, because there's a lot of good things that come with creator economy and creators playing around with the game, but there's also potentially a lot of bad things that could happen, from virus injections to IP infringements to a whole slew of trouble when you let other people touch the source code or perhaps adjust the game. So So what we're seeing now is and I think we turned the corner around. Most serious publishers understand that creators, and to allow the in-game creators to facilitate them and to bridge and to standardize tools that allow them to create inside the game. But it's a fairly new trend. We can see moves like whether it's Rockstar buying 5M, which is the biggest modding group outside of Rockstar, like they're actually engaging their modding group. We could see games like Arc opening up and doing games from, UGC from in the game. And I think that most of the games are on their route to open up to UGC. Saying that, there are some big challenges because none of these games have actually operated these live communities and went to the in-game creators, those gamers creators that can work within them. So the experienced games know how to go to market for getting gamers to play their game or new users to play their game. So a publisher launches a new game, they know how to bring on new users, the experienced ones. But they basically have very little to no experience on now understanding which of those gamers can be creators, allocating a team within the studio that knows now, kind of like a customer success or a UGC team that knows how to approach them, talk with them, allow now to build, to communicate with them, build that community out, build the creations out, and do all sorts of things. That's where a company like ours, like Overwolf, comes and helps them with doing all of that, including go-to-market for creators. I think that in the next couple of years, we're going to see a rise in their abilities to do so, or we're going to see also a rise in platforms like Overwolf that can provide these types of services for them.
Mm-hmm. So I'm quite curious, Shahar, how can creators then, catch the eye of these types of companies, to join in on that then?
So I think so there's the big platforms. There's Roblox and Fortnite, and I'll put them aside because they are in the business of finding teams to develop on their platforms, and they're investing enormous amounts of resources. Roblox has done it for over a decade, and UEFN is doing it for a few years, but is very serious. But all the other market, they don't know exactly how to go about to approach and deal with what you've just stated. And they need to engage a third party currently, like us. They could start to develop it in-house, and I'm sure some of them will. But there's a huge challenge because a lot of these big games need to invest all their time and resource in perfecting the game. Making a game, a AAA game, is a very, very challenging task. And the teams that are used to building and delivering these games to market are completely focused on perfecting that experience. And any side quest, any side assignment to build something that is not core to the gameplay, that can run the game or can support the game, whether it's a packaged premium game or a live op game, they're just not set for success. So I think that they will, as we see this year's titles roll, I think that a lot of them are going to understand that you need to build an in-house team to do it. Most of them are not set up to do it. It's also unique challenges they've never faced. And they're frightening challenges. If you're a very successful game and suddenly somebody somehow snuck in, an IP that's you snuck in Marvel into a game that doesn't have a deal with Marvel, you're facing massive lawsuits, which nobody wants to take the risk for. So again, part of what we're trying to do at Overwolf is relieve that risk. We also take full legal responsibility for these things because we've been doing it for so long. So in an era where UGC becomes kind of one of the main tentpoles of making a game, you need to partner up with a team that really knows what UGC is, knows how to go to market, knows how to talk to creators, knows how to moderate and curate and kind of standardize the industry for everybody to function as a one cohesive ecosystem. Game studios, especially the big ones, aren't set up to talk to individual creators. It's just not something that will happen. Nobody could send an email to Activision and expect an answer. It's just inaccessible. So you need somebody like us that does get some attention from these guys and is used to working with kind of the creators, the in-game creators, to bridge that gap and also align. How do you make money? How do you distribute well? How can you promote something, a creation that deserves to get creation over other creations and whatnot? How to talk to the community and the whole slew of offerings.
Okay, so let me rephrase the question then. How can creators really stand out with Overwolf then to really catch your eye to facilitate in that partnership with
Great.
bigger games then?
So we have a whole team that deals with developers and in-game creators. And if you have an idea, you can approach that team. It depends what type of idea you have to what team, because creating an overlay is not the same thing as creating a mod, and it's not the same thing as creating a private server, and it's not the same thing as working with a game studio like Arc to develop a DLC level mod to deploy. These are all different creations, but they all have at Overwolf we have a full team dedicated to each one of these verticals. So basically, you come with an idea or you come with something you've developed, and you either upload it automatically. If it's a mod, you can go to curseforge.com and upload it to whatever game. And if it gets traction, our growth team understands that and sees that and starts to communicate with you and basically run some sort of a customer success process to help push it out. If it's an overlay that becomes extremely successful, or a great idea with a great team that wants an overlay, can also get financial support from us. We also invest in individual creators and in-game creators that come up with an idea for an overlay or a mod. We have grants. We invest in startups. We're a full ecosystem that is dedicated to the rise and to promote the rise of user-generated content in games. And our mission is we measure ourselves by how much money we made for creators. That's our number one KPI. That's our North Star. How much did we pay in the last year for creators? So in 2023, we paid $201 million to creators. And this is a number, this existed forever in games. We made that a business model. We created this profession a little bit like what YouTube did for streamers, where you could have uploaded videos and it would have been nothing, and then YouTube came and you suddenly became the streamer and you started to make some of them a significant amount of money. It's the same here. You wanted to do UGC, you did it UGC, but with us and our business models and the way of us kind of working on the whole ecosystem, you are making substantial amounts of money. Sometimes you're making a living out of this passion of creating in and around games.
So essentially, I know that Overwolf, acts as a major support network for content creators, which is obviously extremely necessary. So I'd like to explore this a little bit more. Now, beyond creative tools, how exactly, and beyond what we just spoke about as well, how else does Overwolf assist content creators in UGC?
So I think if we put the development cycles aside, I think that part of what we do well is we help push out your creation and we help you monetize your creation. So in Overwolf, there's a big growth department and user acquisition department and monetization departments that are geared to propagate your creation in the relevant target audience. So if you have, let's say, an overlay, a very successful overlay on League of Legends or on Valorant, or it could be a mod that's doing really well, we put money behind it and we contact influencers and we contact websites and we push it. Of course, depending on how successful that is for us as a team, the creator and ourselves, we allocate we allocate or we escalate investment in that vertical. Um, so, so there's kind of the development side of it, there's the growth side of it, and in some cases, we help you get into a full relationship with the studio. So right now, there are game studios that are actually small game studios that are developing mods for Ark Survival Ascended that are working together hand in hand with the studio with us in the middle. So basically escalating and investing and kind of biz deving the creators whole ecosystem and connections and ability. I mean, our goal is to be as explicit as I can, is to make in-game creators the equal, to be like the most significant leg in the next era of the world of games, because we feel that's where the gaming industry is. We see the content the game itself always building the main hub of the game and operating it and live ops, and but then we see the in-game creator as propagating it outwards with all sorts of creations and experiences, and some of them can be really out of the box. If you look at what goes on in 5M, which is the GTA 5 biggest modding community, you'll see people uploading music to the cars there. So you'll see all sorts of new configurations on what's possible aside from just creating the mod. It's just like the inner interactions within them. And we feel that that the game studios are starting to understand the tremendous potential there is to that. And in general, just what we're doing now with Arc in particular is we are allowing small studios, the same studios that would want to develop a game for Roblox or UEFN, they could come to Arc now, and tomorrow they'll come to other game developers that we're working with that we haven't announced it, but we will, and they can upload a small mod for $2, $5, and that's another source of revenue for small game studios. In a developing world where each big game becomes this content ecosystem, if it opens itself up, it could have all these really talented game makers, whether they're individual teams or whether they're small studios that are trying to make their way, be able to develop something quick and fast and monetize it. So instead of now working on a game, you're a small studio, you need to raise millions of dollars, it's going to take you 4 years to go to market. Who knows if you'll ever make it? You can now, in 6 months, as you're doing that, develop for Arc, as you will for Roblox. So you have kind of an unlock achievement on small DLC experiences, and the thing is that the market demands it. The gamers, with their habits of consuming content, are showing that they really appreciate that. So I don't know if that answers the questions,
No,
but that's
it
kind of.
does. It really does. Shahad, I think in most industries, actually, that personalization comes in many forms, and people are demanding it with everything that they consume these days. It's almost like people want their products and services and everything that they work with and live with to be tailored exactly to them. And I think you can really correlate modding and this type of personalization in a broader industry standard together, for sure, because people want to feel like something is made just for them, right? I know that's why I mod, for sure. I mean, I've modded a few games that I've played for sure as well. So you have to, I think, if you want to make something more personal and your own gaming style, for sure, that really does come into play.
And everybody appreciates that, including the game studio are starting to say, hey, you know what, this really has value. And what you do, and it kind of goes to what you have is a micro community that might really be involved in your creation. But if you manage to deploy a UGC strategy that facilitates these micro communities, you're going to get a cluster of not a micro community at the end of that is really dedicated, because everybody's finding themselves within your creation. So it's a huge advantage of one of the properties that UGC brings to the table.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the Sims community, for instance. That's quite a crazy modding community for sure. Um, okay, now, Shahad, a collaboration with brands like, say, for instance, KFC, I think indicates like there's a bridge being built between, gaming and advertising. So, can you share how these types of partnerships really, come to life and what exactly the benefits are to creators?
Okay, I'm going to pull back to 10,000 feet or 30,000 feet. Okay, so advertising and games, in particular AAA games, do not go together. A player that is buying a $60, $70 today premium game like Baldur's Gate 3 is not interested in, in having advertisement in the game. This cohort of which you belong to, if you're a modder, which what I call the golden gamers, which is primarily PC or console heavy gamers that will invest many hours and will be consumed by the game. But they're also kind of goes to what we started is they're also very well to do. These are people that are getting paid close to six figures, about six figures, and they can invest a lot of money if they could interact with brands. And they're not against brands in general. They just don't like the game interrupted. So there's this thing. On the other side, the advertising world is going under a massive shift now. And there is a migration of ad dollars from traditional media, magazines, TV, music platforms into games and social networks, which also games and social networks are starting to come together as we see in Roblox, but other places. So we're going to move from, let's say, a grand market of 800, 900 billion dollars that are aggregated in digital form to a market that's going to grow. Let's say in 2-3 years, it's going to surpass $1 trillion, just ad money, but it's going to go into games. And right now, in PC gaming and console gaming, there is no major advertiser or service that captures or is going to capture hundreds of billions of dollars that would want to get there. So just these are the two massive trends. We're going to have an increase in demand of brands to get into the game, so to speak, because that's where all the audience is going to be. As we have this core user experience, if they just smell ads, like if they just smell an ad, they're like, I don't want to engage that. I'm not talking about mobile. 50% of the market is going to be, let's say, mobile, but 50% is going to be PC. We're talking about, an opportunity that's in the hundreds of billions. Okay, that's the arena. Now, Overwolf and how we are trying to, so to speak, crack the code on this dynamic. So we found out at Overwolf, all of us are golden gamers. Some of us are in-game creators that have created mods. But we understand the space very, very well. And we figured out a product that, first of all, gives service to gamers. We know that gamers want UGC. So we've developed all these channels, overlays, mods, private servers, small game studios, and we're constantly developing UGC verticals. And we found out that if a gamer comes to our platform, everything is free on our platform, and downloads an overlay that now he's playing League of Legends, let's say, and our overlay, Overwolf has a real-time telemetry stack that knows to read real-time events in games. So I can extrapolate that and create all sorts of trackers on stats and also screen recording, all sorts of things that can complement and benefit the gamer. And these are very, very popular. So if we do that for free, and in this overlayer UGC, we have room for advertisement, the player is okay because he got something for free that gives him or her or them a lot of value. And they're like, and their attitude is positive towards the brands that are there. And also they kind of they see solidarity. They know that when they watch those ads, because we do a rev share with a creator, their creator is getting paid. So basically, we have found a way into this market by using our UGC. So we have a Trojan horse. We come with UGC and we present ads in it, but also it's important to say, because we're gamers, it's not like constantly churning ads. It's ads that come in very particular times. You know, when you die in the game and you have a few moments till you come back, when you're in loading screens, when you're sitting in the lobby, all sorts of ways where we distilled kind of the sweet spots for these ads. And we find the gamers tolerate them. And it's kind of, and it doesn't happen in the game, but because it's a second screen, because it's a mod, it does in a way happen in the game without us needing, or without the advertising needing to interact with the game studio. And that hack is working at scale with us, and we're now planning how to, work on leveling that up.
Yeah, exactly. I think, Shahar, the main thing is that people tend to not mind ads so much as long as it's not disrupting what they're doing in that moment of time, right? Or completely taking them away of what they're doing. I can imagine if you're like, in a big fight scene against like a huge boss and like an ad comes up, I'd probably break my console as well. I'd really lose my head.
So to give you an example, which actually shows you that I agree with you, but to show you how we solved it, we can come up with advertisement in critical moments of win, loss, escape, buying. But if we do it well, for instance, we ran now a campaign with Monster. So just to really, really simplify, if you're playing, let's say, it was with Call of Duty, but let's say you get a special achievement, Monster comes on screen, you're getting such and such points, and then those points, you can buy stuff in game with them. Players really react well to that. When you promote it, they know the value they're getting out of it. They know they're getting this tool for free, and the activation isn't bland. It's not trying to take them away from the moment, but it tries to meet them appropriately in the moment of flow, and also give them value in terms of points, achievements, whatever, RPs. And we call that moment triggered ads, and that's a product that we have, that we were working with a bunch of advertisers with KFC, Monster, and a bunch of others, Pringles, and that works really, really well. And that's our insight into how to sculpt an experience that works for the gamer, and works for the brand, works for the game developer, and everybody is in I would say relative harmony with the situation, and profiting. Everybody's profiting for it, and it's a kind of a win-win-win situation. And I think in part of what we're trying to do is really this massive opportunity of all the need to get into games. I think that UGC is going to be a massive highway into achieving that. There are some big initiatives and companies and startups that are trying to get in the game in billboard format, in environment format. I'm less a believer in those types of experiences, for sure, for what I define as golden gamers, because they want the experience clean. A game developer went to all sorts of hoops over decades sometimes to bring you this experience. You don't want to disrupt the experience. But if you are coming to me to download something that's going to enhance the experience, that something is free and has ads in it, that can work.
So, okay, essentially, the gaming world is becoming a space where, creativity really meets opportunity, right? So I'd like to now explore, how gamers are really turning their passion into a profit this year. I know, that mods and overlay apps have changed how we play and interact with games, of course. So can you break down, what the basics are of how creators can really monetize these tools on platforms like Overwolf? Like just quick little points on that.
So basically, it starts with probably you gaming your favorite game, and then you say, you know what would be great if I had a mini map overlay here, just an example. Or if I could, and there's many ideas, maybe something voice can trigger, maybe a voice call can trigger something, or it could be some sort of a stat or a tracker on a certain activity in the game that hasn't been done, or even if it has been done, but I can package it in a better user experience. So as opposed to a big game or any technology ventures, a lot of these overlays are not that hard to develop. They're not easy. They're not for anybody, but they're not hard. They're not deep development cycles where now a year and a half you're working on something. Um, so you could at least start an MVP fairly quickly by going to our developers portal, reading the documents, seeing what's on the Overwolf App Store, and get into it. And the same goes for a mod. Go to curseforge.com, see exactly what, it could be. I mean, we have many games there, from Minecraft to Sims to now Ark, also Stardew Valley, and World of Warcraft, of course. We're leading in Minecraft, but we're very prominent with all the other games I've mentioned and some others. And you could see what works, what not. Or if you're up for it, you could do the whole private server venture out, which would work potentially well on games like Minecraft and GTA, which have been extremely profitable to some teams. But that means you need to create a full game experience. Not hard to do for those who are really passionate about it, but if you really want to create your own game experience within Minecraft, have a store inside your server, and be able to really bring players for a deep dive into a world that you envision, that's also a possibility. So it really is a slew of the potential is immense, and it starts from, you could start small. You could also do custom content for The Sims, or you could build mansions for The Sims, and you can move into all these types of games. I think that the most important thing is, whomever you are, is to have a lot of passion and come and just experiment and building something and putting it on. And one thing leads to the other. And you see what works and what not, just like any game developer. So today, a modder could be a game developer for all sakes and purposes. Uri Martian, our CEO and co-founder, wrote 10 years ago, "Modders are developers. It's time we treat them this way." So today we're actually seeing that come to fruition in our day-to-day work. So basically, just get going. Find the game you like. Come to Overwolf, see how you can promote something or build something for it. You need our help, you can always submit a request. If it's great, if you're good, we might even give you a grant to do it. Basically, get into the game. We have teams that did a few things. I mean, it's one thing leads to the other, and the opportunity in the opportunity spectrum just grows and grows, because now you can go to Ark and create a real DLC level inside a live game that's on Xbox Pass, and with such an avid community and such a huge support. I mean, there's really, and soon more games like it. So this thing that is, or the scope or the definition of game developer really expands into modders and app developers and private servers, and just really just anybody with a great idea that can come and execute it and breathe life to it.
Mm-hmm. Now, Shahar, I know that you are deeply involved, with the intersection of gaming and content creation. What was the moment for you that you really realized the massive potential of mods and user-generated content in transforming gaming? Was there like a wow moment for you?
There were a few wow moments for me. I'll give it to and they took a few decades. Each one of them happened in a different decade. So I'll quickly wrap them. The first one was when I played Castle Smurfenstein. So in the 80s, there was a game called Castle Wolfenstein. And then this guy came and modded it into, instead of Nazis, he modded it to be Smurfs. And I found that hilarious. And I said, wow, that's so cool. I didn't know you could do that. Like, it opened my mind to things you could do with games. I think the next time was when I started seeing Doom maps created by creators. I wasn't a big Doom player, but I was like, oh, wow, I mean, it was a moment, and I was already older. So I said, "Wow, this could be a real opportunity for people who want to express themselves." And then Valve with Half-Life took it another step. So I was following that, but the real moment was when I met the founders of League of Legends in Los Angeles. I was starting to build my own game, and they were really starting to kick off. It was back in 2009 or 8, and I was in their offices in Santa Monica, and I was just floored because I played a little bit of World of Warcraft and Dota, and for them to be able to take and like reskin that into their own IP was, wow, this is a huge. You could do that. It opened my mind to what could be done with games, and in general, in games, I was also a founder and CEO of a game studio. So in games, it's not so you can copy game mechanisms from other games. Unlike other IP verticals. It's not so easy for a game maker to say to another game maker, "You copied me." That's why we have so many different versions of CS:GO, or PUBG, or Fortnite, or whatever. So it's much easier to basically copy an idea and a mechanism and to build something. So there's something organically built into that ecosystem. Look at that mechanism there. Look at that mechanism there. Why don't I borrow them? Maybe put on my own spin on it. And so there's something in game making at the core and the base of game making that leads itself to creativity and experimentation with other people's creativity and ideas. And I think that it's very hard to, like, when you have The Last of Us or like these tentpole games that are just massively immersive. It's very that cannot be copied. That's like copying a great movie, which is very hard to do. But in the center there, you have a lot of experiences you can learn from and kind of reiterate on. So for me, League of Legends, meeting the guys was like, this is going to be a thing. If they started it and it's hitting so big, this can definitely be a big thing. And it's a matter of time until we have small teams become entrepreneurs and build out these creations.
What I wanted to say was, I know that the laws around copywriting in this industry can be and should be very strict, of course, as we know that, right? So I'm wondering, how do you guys at Overwolf, guide creators when working with things like owned IPS? What do the legalities around that look like?
So first of all, our main concern, especially when we're working with big IPs, is first and foremost the safety of the IP, because you want to be able for the IP to benefit from creators, and you don't want to create a back channel or some back door, whether you're doing it consciously or not, for that IP to be damaged. So for us, it's IP first, and then creators being able to deploy something on that IP. And we do that in Overwolf. We developed over the year a stack of curation and moderation. So we have a whole department that manually looks at how things are done and built. And then we have automations, a layer of automated tools that go through a series of checks and balances. And then we have a community that's built around creation. So the creator community itself serves as a buffer. So it's a much more decentralized. It's centralized by us, but it has decentralized components, like with the community, or even with our own team working with the creator and the game studio itself to figure that out. But that's why it's very more comfortable for us to say, you know what, we're taking full legal responsibility when we serve as the bridge, when we lay out the tools for UGC. We take full legal responsibility. If something shows up in the game or something happens that shouldn't be, we take full ownership on it. We haven't had anything bad happen because 10 years ago we started working on this. Well, a little bit, 14 years ago actually, but so we perfected this whole suite of moderation and creation tools and best practices.
Now, Shahar, I'd love to talk to you about, AI and gaming and where we're at with that currently. Now, obviously, AI has been a game changer for UGC creation, right? And just sort of piggybacking off of copywriting and stuff like that. But in any case, we know that AI has given life to everything from AI speech tools to just generally making content more personalized, as we've touched on before as well. Now, AI also has been super useful for drafting art or code script concepts and dialogues, etc., especially for lone wolf creators, actually. So, in this context, how do you see AI tools further transforming content creation and monetization?
So I want to talk again from a bird's eye view. So AI is going to be significant in amplifying and speeding up development and cutting down on teams, because AI, when you know the task, specific task you want to get done, AI is going to be a massive game changer in the process of creating content, games, whatnot. And we're going to see more and more tools come out. But I'm going to talk about where I think AI is going to play the biggest role and where AI lacks. I'll start with where it lacks. Game creation, just like any other specific creation of art, AI is still not there, and it's far away from being a specific tool. So if you're an artist and you have a very specific image of what needs to be drawn on the canvas, AI is not going to give you what you want. It's going to get close. So if you and I have an idea and we're prompting it, because we don't have a visual kind of grab of what we want, AI might come and complete our picture and we'll go, oh, that's amazing. And that might be enough. But when you're coming to game creation and the successful game is a work of tremendous emotional intelligence with as that's the master. And the emissary is a lot of the mechanics and mathematics that go underneath. And that precision of like understanding the user and understanding how to build a character and all those things, AI is nowhere to touch that yet. So the fine tune of a very well crafted game experience, AI is not there. Where AI is and where it could become very, very, it could become a game changer really, is two places. One is to be a game engine, to replace one of the games, you can procedurally create a world. That's massive. So what do you do today with UEFN or Roblox or Unity? AI can replace that in theory. And I think we're going to see game engines come up. And that's massive because, if I just need to go now to an engine and I put some parameters and then I define a world, and on that world I create my experiences with my team, that's massive. I don't need to pay the royalties. There's so many things that could be cut out. And that's one opportunity, which will be a game changer and will change the industry. And the other one has to do with the human aspect. So as this trend is the craziness of the world engulfs us and people become more and more lonely and desperate and depressed, and people find more and more themselves in social and game environment, the presence of an authentic buddy, person, friend with you is going to become crucial. And AI is right there now. It's to give you that perfect companionship, tailor suited for you. It's also, I'm not talking about the disadvantages of this, but when I play now, whatever game, if I have my AI companion, but that AI companion knows me in and out, talking with me and can also go with me outside the game and be with my day, then my experience, because a lot of our experience in the game are changed by us communing with each other. But for a lot of us, that's where it ends. A lot of people, are in their device and they're just living in these crazy worlds. But if we can have right next to us a pseudo friend, a real companion, that's going to be a game changer. And that's when you talk about UGC, that component of creation inside games is going to change the way I game. I'm going to change the way I feel. I'm going to develop real emotions and attachments to that. And I think we're, a fraction away from that moment. So this is how AI, I think, is going to change the game.
I'm gonna tell you one thing, Shahar, that scares the hell out of me. I think I think there definitely needs to be a balance between, yes, I can 100% understand having an AI buddy. I mean, I use GPT's voice AI all the time, every single day to help me with work and making notes and research and quickly just finding stuff out as I'm typing or whatever, right? And it feels like you've got a friend, and they do sound a lot more human, a lot more chill, even taking pauses and saying in between sentences. It's insane where AI is going, and it's just going to get more and more. But I do feel like that could for sure, drive us away from each other, human beings, at the end of the day.
It's going to be massive. You
Yeah.
can wait in rooms. You're already battling AI and training yourself on it. It's already happening. It's just that level of personalization is just gonna come now.
Yeah.
And because the tool can do it, and that's gonna have massive impact on how you game, on how you live, and how you feel. And that's
There's no
that's
fighting
really
it
massive.
then. No fighting
I
it.
know. I think like anything, you need to learn how to aikido the thing. You need to learn how to embrace it and work with it, or help people and guide them how to be with it and work it. Um, and yeah, there's that tidal wave that tsunami's coming.
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways it's already here, to be honest. Okay, so Shahad, we kind of touched on legalities previously as well, right? So I'm wondering what sort of, legal issues could come up for using AI generated content in UGC, copyrights, for example.
Wow, that's a question that I have no use case that I can refer to. I think that if you don't have a human component that is involved in checking the output of AI, you might get into trouble. Because I mean, I'm sure at some point AI could also be prompted legally, so you could prompt it and also define what's legal and what's not to save everything. But in case you haven't, or you haven't done that well, because you'll never know, is to have basically a person on the team, or a team, depending on the velocity and the quantity of content you put out, that goes over the content and revises it, specific, especially when you're working with big titles. So if you're working with mid-range title, they won't care if it's a small studio that doesn't have, they can barely, they're just struggling, it's their first game and whatnot. But you might get away with something. Not that I think that you should. I think you should check everything, but AI could be more lenient there. But the more you move into arenas where there's real money, real potential for you and your team, and UGC can be profound, the more you need to be extremely careful and cautious with how you deploy anything, really. And really be and understand this game maker is opening its doors to you, and it's allowing for you to engage their IP. It's a huge privilege. It's something that didn't exist in the past with games. They're making that effort on their part now, and you need to own that and be responsible with whatever creation you're making, to allow that, not only for yourself, for the other creators. So and that's kind of what I'm saying. When there's a community of creators, they need to step up and help each other with whatever tools they're doing. What's the best practices? So if you're creating for a game that has creators, you can go on their Discord and you can talk and you can consult, and there's all sorts of things you can do to engage the community, to know what are the kind of rules of the game, or what are the best practices in terms of working with AIs in this particular title.
Hmm. Okay, so just on the topic of, building communities and engaging with these communities on things like, say, for instance, I'm sure like Twitch or Discord or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, what do you think should creators really keep in mind while they're building their community?
That's a broad question. I think that as a community or previous game maker, I can say that the one thing you want to keep in mind is to build a space where the relevant conversations are taking place, and the irrelevant conversations are weeded out in a sane manner. So what happens with communities is that they could flare up and they could flare down depending on certain social dynamics that happen with them. So focus on the core experience that made that community gather and fuel that. So there's always some meta discussion around why that community exists in the first place, and you want to just supply the fuel for that. Sometimes there's toxicity that comes with community. It's just the name of the game, and you want to be able to diplomatically handle that in a one-on-one way, or just play that down in a sane way where it doesn't flare up more than it should. Sometimes it does. You know, when people from around the world gather around an experience, you never really know who you have in the room. So either you find out the hard way by getting hit hard, which is just usually what happens, because specifically if you have no experience, but keeping your eyes and ears open and understanding that asset or that community is as valuable as the experience you're making, because it's like anything. These are your customers. These are your, the people who are making your dream viable. When the game studio or whomever you built is looking and they're saying, wow, something interesting is happening there, they're looking at that as well.
Shahar, what topics would you say in community building or UGC aren't discussed enough that you deem super important?
I think that the motivation, the authentic motivation to create something, and not look at community as a tool, which it is. I mean, from a business standpoint, you can have business people say, "Oh, and we'll build a community and whatnot," but the communities that get built when you have authentic conversations in them by people who really understand the subject matter. And many times, specifically the bigger studios, when they come to say, okay, we have a lot of people, let's just throw somebody to talk with them and handle the community, it's done haphazardly. What you're looking for is authentic members within your team and within that engage the community in a relevant, deep matter, that also know how to, kind of goes to the point I've talked before, navigate the discussion around the relevant subject, which is an art form. I mean, to have people on your team that know how to do that is not easy. I know for us, it's very tough to find them. But we have a sort of a playbook plus a person in the company, Dro, who's very good, who's kind of leading that process. And I think authenticity and you can't cheat out being a human being. And at the core, all of these communities, regardless of the game, they have human beings in them that need attention, and sometimes you need to know how to diplomatically cater around them. So I think that's the core thing, which is so the core very different and very just very very different from what studios or game makers are used to handling.
So, Shahar, how do you see the role of game creators evolving in 2024, especially in terms of professional opportunities and the industry impact that will have?
So I think we opened with that. I'm gonna kind of recap that. I think there's a massive opportunities for small game studios now that is going to increase with existing titles. In particularly what we're doing now with Ark Survival Ascended, which the game opens up to little studios uploading DLC level mods for a premium. That's a direct revenue for small studios that they didn't have before outside the Roblox and Epic ecosystems. I think we're going to see this model grow to another one or two significant titles this year. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a massive opportunity. Like if you're a game studio, go to Ark now, download one of the mods, download the free mods, download the premium mods, see what's going on. We're going to have also a major announcement with a major IP in a month and a half. So basically we took a major IP, gave it to a game studio, and they're launching a DLC level premium mod in Ark. All these configurations are new, and they're kind of redefining how games and mods are going to be done moving forward. If you get on the ground floor right now, as this is happening with Ark and soon with other titles, I think you'll have, as a game studio, your landscape of opportunities is going to open up and change.
Well, Shahar, I know you need to go, so I won't keep you much longer, but thank you so much for all of your insights today. It has been incredible having a chat with you. Really, thank you.
Thank you, Bianca, for the opportunity. It was lovely. And I hope everybody that's listening to that is safe and well.
And that's a wrap on our episode today with Shahar Sorek. If your project could benefit from a top-tier digital agency's expertise, look no further than designrush.com/marketplace. Our carefully curated selection of agencies is equipped to help you navigate the digital world, from web design to marketing, and bring your vision to life. Remember to like and subscribe for more engaging chats with industry leaders. Again, I'm your host, Bianca Mayer. Stay curious and join us for the next episode.